Tampa Bay. We fuck 'em up when we raise the flag. Fire the cannons and seize the day. The crew's ready.
What is up, Bucs Nation? The loose cannons are back. Buccaneer football is around the corner. You guys know who I am. Hanging out with Stanker. Populette's got the week off. He's enjoying vacation, having some family time before he gets himself ready for training camp. Special guest tonight, though. We are joined by Tyler Dunne, who launched and founded Go Long, which is a long-form journalism for pro football articles. Unbelievable. I mean, if you guys like to read, that is. I don't know how many of you guys like to read. I love it. It's awesome. It's like an essay on my favorite team or player at any moment. So, Tyler, before we get going, dude, first of all, welcome to the show. And go ahead, tell people about the website, what your vision is, kind of what you put together there, because I'm a huge fan already. So I want you to kind of sell it to people on what it is and how awesome the vision is. Go ahead.
Well, hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I know we've been trying to make it work for a while, so what better time than right now? Training camps are open. Hope is in the air. I think the hope is real down there in Tampa Bay, so it's perfect timing. But yeah, I launched Go Long, like you said, November 2020, so right when Tampa Bay was going on that Super Bowl run. I think that's right when things kind of picked up, when they were 7-5 and teetering a little bit. Mm-hmm. I just think that there should be a home for long form journalism. It's no secret. Everything is going the opposite direction to just 280 characters, GIFs and emojis and bullshit. And I kind of got disenfranchised. I was at Bleacher Report for 4.5, 5 years when they actually cared about long form journalism, worked with some really good people there. So I don't want to just, dump on BR. In that window of time, awesome place to be. They decided to go another direction. They decided to care about other stuff, let all the writers go. So I said, you know what? Why not just launch a Substack, golongtd.com, and write profiles, features, try to show people kind of how the game really works. I think that as connected as we all think we are to NFL, it's everywhere. It's omnipresent. We're 24/7, 365. We can get anything we want all the time. A lot of fans who support the product, right? We're pouring our hard-earned money into this sport. Still don't really know how it works. I think that with setup press conferences, by and large, is often just drivel and insipid cliches. So it takes somebody like Carlton Davis that wants to sit down for an hour, hour and a half, and open up for us to really understand what these guys think and how football works. But that's definitely the mission at Go Long.
Damn,
you're
talk.
throwing out some pretty big words, though.
Yeah,
he said insipid cliches, and I just had Alexa Google those words as you were.
I was thinking. I was like, this guy talks like a writer. I don't know how many of our viewers we're gonna lose here. But
look like a writer too, right? Just bald as hell.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but see, you've got the well-kept beard. It's grown in, Viking-like. It's well done. But then we got, Stanky's got the reverse mutton chop, as we call it, where it just stops for some reason.
Bro, look how thick and beautiful that is right there.
No,
that's like grass-fed shit right there. You don't even understand.
All right, Tyler, you mentioned Carlton Davis. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Carlton Davis piece that you did, where you got to sit down with him. You said a whole day or an hour and a half, and he just kind of opened up, which is uncommon for Carlton Davis. We've had him here for, I think, almost 5 years, maybe 6 years now, and you really don't hear from him very much. You don't see him at a lot of events with his teammates. He's a good teammate, don't get me wrong, but you just don't get him behind the mic. You don't get him to talk a lot, and you got him to spill a lot, and you got to see his personality through your writing. So what was the vibe that you got from Carlton just about him being a Buck leading up to now, before we kind of hop into what he was talking about coming into 2023?
Yeah, I didn't really know that about him behind the scenes. I don't cover the team day to day. I wish I did. I'd love to live in Tampa as opposed to Buffalo,
down.
New York. You have Cigar City Brewing. I'm wearing a highlight shirt right now, so that's a good spot to go to. But yeah, from what I knew, I talked to him. I think I first quote unquote met him ahead of the Super Bowl when he's about to have that rematch against Tyreek Hill. We all know what happened in round one. It was ugly. He was burnt toast most of that day. I think it was in the 4:00 slot, so the nation saw it. It was ugly. And I just wanted to know, all right, where's your head at? Now it's the Super Bowl. The world's watching. This is a team that likes to get into your face, play physical. You're gonna be up into Tyreek Hill's grill again. So how does this going to work on an island? And he did not back down then. I was really kind of shocked to hear how honest and brash might be a hard word, but he was not backing down into round two. He wanted to get up into Tyreek Hill and play the way he knows how to play. That's what he did. The team had a better plan the second time around and they won. So at one point in that conversation, he said that, Miami Gardens is really what makes him, where he grew up. It's ugly. I know some people from his hometown. I did a show with Isaiah McKenzie here in Buffalo. He's from a really bad part, a bad neighborhood in the Miami Gardens, and they actually know each other a little bit. So I just kind of wanted to know, I guess that's what sent me down to Tampa the second time around 2 years later. Okay, like, what is that exactly? Like, what makes you who you are? And that was a big part of the story. When you're in these youth football games, you've got drug dealers gambling on your games. There's gunfire, and you don't know where it's coming from. You're 10, 11 years old. You're hitting the deck, trying to find shelter. It's a different world down there, man. Youth football in South Florida is unlike anything I've ever heard of. But at one point, it just turned into a conversation on the team now. And as you said, he did not hold back. The NFL in for a rude awakening if they think they're done post Tom Brady.
Did you get the sense, Stank, I don't know if you had something there.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you get the sense that when he spoke about the rude awakening, they're going to wreck shit, all that kind of, I don't want to say it's smack talk, but it's just kind of like confidence in themselves. Was he speaking for himself, or was he talking kind of on behalf of his teammates, on behalf of the team, on behalf of the guys in his, his meeting rooms and all that stuff? Was it coming off like that, or was it more specific to him?
I think it's the entire defense. I'm trying to think back what led us into the conversation. It was really the defense, because we were discussing, 31-9, making Patrick Mahomes look like mush. We've never seen maybe the best offense in NFL history look like that. Where I think it was like a 497 yards before he was sacked or threw the ball, that he's just running around.
Yeah.
I think I wrote like a toddler running around with the remote in the basement. There was no rhyme or reason to what the Chiefs. We've never seen that.
Mm-mm.
So that's what kind of got us into the conversation of today. Like, you're still here, Shaq Barrett's still here, Devin White, Levante David, Jamal Dean, Antoine Winfield. There are dudes on this team. Usually those teams, and I hate power rankings. It's the the ugly stepchild of the mock draft. I think they're so worthless. And we all care about them, I guess. But it is crazy to me to see Tampa Bay like dead last in these power rankings. And beyond that, go to Vegas. Look at how people are throwing their money around. I mean, they are 30th, 31st, 32nd in Super Bowl odds. When you've got players like that did that to Patrick Mahomes not too long ago. So yeah, he's talking about the defense. He really thinks that they're going to be able to shut any quarterback down, any offense down. And he did kind of bring up the offense too, and said, look, there's going to be more rhythm. There's going to be more efficiency. The running game is going to be better. One play is going to kind of set up the next play. As good as Tom Brady was, and he's the best ever, man, he was not the same Tom Brady at the end. It was just a sitting duck, kind of pop a shot in the back of the bar, right? Just getting up as many attempts as he could, which is what he could only do at that point. I think there's going to be an actual offensive scheme run by an actual offensive coach, Dave Canales, who I'm kind of getting ahead of myself now. I'm sure we'll get into it. I just talked to him yesterday for about half hour about his philosophy and what he believes in and where he's going to take this offense. There's an actual plan. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, they're completely putting in a totally new offense that is going to go beyond Tom Brady just kind of pop a shot in it, in 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, maybe from an outside perspective, this team was all about Tom Brady, but here, for the fans who follow this team religiously, we kind of got to see the aura wear thin a little bit last year. I mean, the defense carried this team to the playoffs. Had it not been for them, we win 3 games last season. The offense was abysmal. Wasn't all Tom's fault. The O-line was a revolving door, and things just seemed to not work the same. Leftwich took it on the chin. Arians was sent upstairs. Tom retired and unretired. It was quite a rocky season, so it doesn't surprise me that not with just with Carlton Davis, but with other defenders. We've heard them vocally come out, and almost with that chip on their shoulder of feeling disrespected. Like, we are a big reason we won the Super Bowl. We're a big reason we almost went to another Super Bowl, and then last year we're probably the reason we were even in the conversation. But the narrative was always Tom Brady, and that's just what you get when you bring the GOAT into town, I guess.
Perfectly said, Stank. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that Super Bowl, we're all going to look back on it. Our kids are going to look back on it. They're going to see Tom Brady, another Super Bowl, and it's the iconic image. Well, if you actually watch the game, a lot of handing the ball off, a lot of play action, and a lot of the defense absolutely dominating. I tell you what, that game gave me hope for the sport in general. I feel like an ornery middle-aged man most NFL Sundays, just wanting to throw that remote at the TV with the flags and then the fines and just the league and the officials just trying to find this utopian middle ground that doesn't exist, right? Like, oh, football is safe. Football is not safe. You don't say that the UFC is safe. Stop lying to the public and saying this game is safe. BS. Like, maybe you don't want to get sued and you're worried about lawsuits and you want to keep the quarterbacks healthy, but it's a violent game. It's played by violent people. And that night in Tampa against the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what you saw. You saw a team flying around, leaving bruises, flashing the peace sign right in Tyreek Hill's face. It was a beautiful thing. I think it gives the sport hope, and a lot of those guys are still around.
You could have made an argument in that game, Tyler, that the MVP could have been Shaq Barrett. It could have been Vita Vea. It could have been Devin White. It could have been Antoine Winfield. It could have been a number. It could have been the entire defense as a whole group being the most valuable player in that game. Because the second half, the Bucs really didn't do much. Tom Brady threw three touchdowns, but they didn't feel like he threw 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, not to take away from Tom. Obviously, we love him. Love what happened, how he brought us a Super Bowl. And it was an amazing night. But to sit there and pretend that Tom won that game on his own, I mean, you could say Gronk was the MVP at some point. He got 2 touchdowns by himself. So I think the defense did get a lot of disrespect from that moment on. But then the year after that, they came on. They played pretty fucking well. And like Stank said, last year, they're the reason we even win 9 games. We don't win 9 games without them. And if the offense would have scored just I think 5 or 6 more points per game, we probably would have won 12 games, which is even weirder to say with Tom Brady here. So fast forward to now, we've got Baker Mayfield, we've got Kyle Trask, we've got this defensive unit that's got massive chips on their shoulders, and offensive players who also have these chips on their shoulders. Training camp began yesterday/today. Like, what are we looking forward to in terms of Kyle, in terms of Baker, all these guys I just mentioned, and what, with Dave Canales' new offense in 2023. And again, Todd Bowles really getting to construct his own coaching staff for the first time as a Buccaneers head coach. Just all of that lumped together. What does 2023 look like? We're bullish on this team. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave a little teaser and let you filibuster for a second, because my worst podcast fear is here. I have a 4-year-old daughter currently crying inside.
Bring her on.
That refuses to go to bed.
Bring her on.
She's hanging tough. But real quick, and then I promise I will be right back.
Tyler? Are you Hispanic?
I am not.
Okay, then your child's allowed on. See, Sammer has this weird rule that there's no Spanish children allowed, because I have Spanish children, and so does our other co-host. But evidently, you're great. So your 4-year-old, pull her up to the mic.
I have no issue with Caucasian children. That's it. Coming on the show, it's fine.
She's as white as me. I could promise you that. Pale as a ghost.
Go do what you got to do,
no,
man.
I love the offense. I love Canales. They're gonna have a run game, and I'm very sorry you're gonna have to filibuster for
a
minute and a half tops. I'll be right back.
Do what you got to do. all right, Stanker. Listen, we're gonna pause that.
Sammer?
I guess we're gonna pause that question.
Pause it and talk about what's going on today, which is
Kyle Trask embarrassed by his own social media team, buried by his own social media team. Holy shit, dude! How do you drop the photo of Mike Evans, some coaching staff member, and Baker laughing it up, walking away with Kyle Trask in the back, just watching his girlfriend walk away with the hot new dude?
I sent off a strongly worded email to the team and my ticket rep and those over there, I was not happy with that photo. That painted Kyle in a bitch ass light, and I truly did not appreciate that. But it was nice to see our friend and colleague JC Cornell come out and just lift everything back up. He made it all okay again when he said Kyle was out there dominating today and Baker looked like shit.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe
That's what I heard.
I think JC was paid off. Okay, that's just my theory. I think he was paid off by Kyle Trask's people, by his parents. I heard they come from, they're pretty well off. So I think his
Talking about
parents,
Ken and Wilma Trask,
whatever their names are. I don't know. I'm not sure how you know their names, but I think. But how does the social media team release that photo and not look at it and say this could probably be a backfiring type of move if we do this? Like, I get the smiling, like, Photoshop him out. Do something. You can't just drop him on there with him just like, he looks all disheveled in the back, like he fell during a drill. They all laughed at him. They threw their towels on at him, and then they just turned around and walked away. Mike Evans is his girlfriend, is now walking out with the new stud, Biff Mayfield. I mean, just like, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. And how does the social media team do that?
I wanted the same. They knew that you were going to feast on this. They had to. Joe Beekman, like, listen, the people over there who run the Bucs socials on Twitter had to know that you guys were just going to go crazy with that photo. I mean, I think it was a personal shot at me, honestly.
They lit the fire. They put extra logs on top of it, and then they handed me the fucking marshmallow at that point. They're like, "Here you go. Here's Kyle Trask, all disheveled behind the group of Go Happy, like just friends, best friends, basically, with Baker and Mike walking away, and he's just in the background. Like, how do you give me that? That was easy.
I think you need to bring Tyler in on this. Tyler, you need to see what the Bucs social media team did today, and I'm actually disgusted by it. Sammer, can you pull up the photo for him real quick?
I don't know if I can. I don't think he'll be able to see anything.
Pull it up on your phone. Listen, Tyler, let me just paint the picture. Throughout the offseason, and it could be my fault, could be Sammer's fault. It's probably a combination of both of our faults. We've kind of started a war. You have your Trask people, you have your Baker people, and we hate each other, right? We got obviously Trask is a Gator, so there's just like a built-in bias. Everybody wants the next great Gator quarterback. The next great Gator quarterback, by the way, as if there's been a great Gator quarterback before. But anyways,
ever.
So there's been all kinds of controversy, ugly words, and then the Bucs social media team today comes out and posts this photo right here with Baker and Mike Evans and this coach, and they're just having the time of their lives. They couldn't be having a better time. And then you got Kyle in the back. Yeah, Kyle in the back looking like, yo, what's fun? What you guys doing over there? Like, why am I left out of the party? And I just feel like it's disrespectful. It's supposed to be an open competition. It's supposed to be fair. And then you post a picture of like that, making Kyle look like a piece of shit. I didn't like it.
Yeah, Tyler, what do you think about your team's own social media team just burying one of their potential quarterback, guy in a quarterback competition right now, just getting absolutely buried by his social media team?
I don't know. I think if Kyle Trask is worked up about a social media picture, which I'm not saying he is, but if he is, probably not going to be the man for the job. If he is emotionally wrecked by what the team is putting on Twitter, not sure how he's going to handle, Aaron Donald in his face or anybody for that matter.
Well, according to Sammer,
I don't know. But is it really a quarterback competition? I know that's what everybody's saying.
It is.
It's genuinely a quarterback.
According to Sammer,
I don't think it is.
Sammer, let me just kind of paint a second picture. According to Sammer, Kyle Trask is not Marty McFly, fucking
Kyle McFly. He's Kyle McFly.
And Baker Mayfield is Biff in the scenario. Like he's the the quivering little nerdy.
He's timid. He's timid George McFly, right? And Baker is Biff, and he's got the alpha energy. He's the cool guy in the room when he walks in. Everyone's fucking terrified and respects him. All that. And so we started this whole thing: Biff Mayfield versus Kyle McFly. Back to the Huddle, summer's greatest fucking movie, and like this whole thing, dude. And I'm a firm believer that this is not a competition just because of the energy that guy brings, the chip on his shoulder, his back against the wall. We've argued this point the last 4 or 5 episodes on this show. And from what you're saying, Tyler, it sounds like you also think that this whole competition is all just a facade.
He's in Camp Baker. It's obvious.
Well, I do, but I'm also a Baker apologist and have been for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I love the pick for Cleveland, which maybe I just, trashed my own reputation for saying that, but I love all the intangible stuff, the gamer, the fact that guys want to run through a wall for him. I know we can say anything on this podcast, and
yes,
sorry, that's my daughter. She came down. She couldn't sleep. She's hanging out with us now, so
hell yeah.
earmuffs. But yes, Andy Janovich, a fullback for the Browns, once told me, Baker Mayfield, you could cut off his. No, I can't say it because my daughter's right here. You could cut off. You know what I'm saying?
Your daughter can't hear us.
No, I got my headphones on. She can't hear you, but she can hear me. But you could cut that off, and he'd still play in the game. I mean, I don't know. Call me a hopeless romantic, but I kind of love that stuff in my starting quarterback.
That is romantic. That is a romantic line. I will say that. I agree.
It kind of is. Dave Canales, when we talked, he made a point to laud Baker, Kyle Trask. I wasn't really able to decipher, he loves this quarterback more than the other. Same thing with the players. So they're playing this thing coy. But if you're putting in this new offense and you want to win now, I mean, they want to win now, you would play the quarterback that has all of these starts under his belt. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a team that is outright tanking. I mean, if they were tanking, maybe you do start somebody like Kyle Trask that has no experience and was a second round pick, but was the last pick in the second. And maybe you don't bring back Levante David and give Dean that contract and restructure here and there. And I don't know. It just seems like Baker Mayfield will at least start, I think. He'll at least start the season. And if it goes off the rails by the middle of October or sooner even, then you go to Kyle Trask.
I think he's got a four. He's got
play out.
I think it, and I'm a Kyle Trask apologist here. I think it's Baker's job to lose, even if he looks okay in the preseason and Kyle outshines him. I still think it's Baker's job. I think he's got a 4-game window to prove that this is a team. A tough 4-game stretch. The Bucs have an early bye week 5.
It's 4.
I think it is, because if you look at our opponents, which includes the Saints, it's gonna be very telling what this team is in the first 4 weeks before the bye.
All right, Stink. Let's say they go 3-1. Okay. Let's say they go 2-2, and Baker plays average, plays okay. You switching him? He didn't light it up, but he didn't stink it up.
I think it all depends on why we're 2-2 and how Baker looks. If it's the fact that the offensive line can't block or the receivers aren't doing well or whatever. I mean, but if it's clearly, he's just washed and this is his last stop, and at that point I think the decision's easy, because you can't stick with this guy, and flush the season down the toilet that early on, especially when you got guys like Levante and veterans who are still trying to win football games here.
But maybe he's really good too. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be a Kyle Trask hater. Maybe you're sitting on Kurt Warner. I have no idea.
We don't know.
But
we're not.
But it just seems like if they really did love Kyle Trask and he did have this juice to him, they wouldn't really be messing around with the Baker Mayfield at this point.
Thank you.
I mean, you're bringing him in for a reason.
I think they don't know what they have in the guy. It's like, it doesn't matter what he looks like in practice.
No.
He's yet to see live bullets.
Yeah, but Stank, you know something about him. You know what he might have, because you have been with him for, this will be his 3rd year. You've seen him in off-season camps. You've seen him when Tom is not there and he's the one throwing the passes to whoever he's throwing the balls to. Like, there's still ways to evaluate these guys. If they had even an inkling, like, hey, you know what? This guy could be something special. Could be the next Matt Ryan, could be the next whatever. You'd be like, all right, let's just fucking go. Let's see what it is. But they clearly didn't think enough of that to not just bring in a guy like Baker. They didn't bring in a guy to just sit there and compete. They brought a guy who could possibly win the game, win the competition, and win games, which tells you a lot of what you need to know about him or what they think about him.
You need context here. You can't just look at Kyle in like that, because yes, having Tom Brady in your quarterback room benefited the guy, but it also stunted him in the fact that he had no opportunity to compete. He didn't have the opportunity to compete for the backup role. Remember who taught Tom Brady this offense, and it wasn't Bruce Arians. We had them come on here and tell us before, he was never given the opportunity to compete for quarterback 2. So the guy was running scout team and it wasn't even dressing during the week. It wasn't a competition. Now this is a competition. Now he's going to get to actually get some reps with starters behind a fucking quality line, not a bunch of UPS drivers throwing to receivers who have ability. So he could look completely.
I mean, the receivers aren't going to make him drop the ball in the backfield. But Tyler, what does Kyle have to do in this training camp to overcome what appears to be Baker Mayfield kind of having this slight edge, whether it's having game experience, whether it's being just a charismatic leader, whether it's these guys that just want to play for him, the impact and the personality that he brings to the huddle. What does Kyle have to do to overcome all of that stuff as a guy who's never taken a snap really in a regular season game?
It's not impossible. I'm trying to think back to teams I've been around extensively for an entire training camp. I covered the Packers and the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel for 5 years, which Aaron Rodgers isn't exactly competing with Graham Harrell for the job. But in 2015 at the Buffalo News, the Buffalo Bills staged the epic quarterback competition. Who could forget of Matt Castle, E.J. Manuel, and Tyrod Taylor, with Rex Ryan at the helm. And really, I mean, Matt Castle was the quarterback that was the veteran. That's who offensive coordinator Greg Roman wanted to be the guy. And Greg Roman is pushing that narrative publicly, privately, through different people. And training camp happened, and he just wasn't that good. And Tyrod Taylor at least made a play here, made a play there, had a good preseason game. Next thing you know, it's a no-brainer. Tyrod Taylor is the one that at least gives you a little hope on offense, so you're going to start him. And Matt Castle was traded, I think, to Dallas by week 2, week 3. So anything can happen, right? I mean, if Baker Mayfield stinks it up, then Kyle Trask is your guy. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think that this is a much smarter offensive coach than Greg Roman at running the show. You've got better skill position players. You've got a plan. It seems like they really like Baker and how he fits into what they want to do. So I'd be shocked if that happens, but it can, right? I mean, it was ugly in Carolina. Outside of that one drive against the Las Vegas Raiders, it was kind of ugly with the LA Rams under really impossible circumstances. Don't get me wrong. That was basically the Rams JV team at that point. Mm-hmm. So it's a chance, but I still think Baker Mayfield is the starter. And I think that the coaching is too solid. The supporting cast is too solid. The line's going to be better. It can't be any worse. He's going to have a running game. I think he'll succeed. I think this is a team that can, if not win the division, stay in the hunt post Thanksgiving.
When you spoke to Canales, did he mention how they were going to divvy up these kind of these snaps in preseason to where both guys will get an opportunity with the ones? How are they going to really put these guys in a scenario where they can equally compete for the job through the preseason games, aside from what they're going to do in camp? Because we've never really seen this. Well, we haven't seen this in a while. Maybe since Trent Dilfer versus Eric Zier. I don't even remember that. Trent Dilfer versus Sean King, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember it really being a competition. It just kind of felt like Trent Dilfer's job until he got injured, which is a terrible thing to say. But did Canales talk about how he's going to divvy up the snaps to where both guys get an equal opportunity with the correct guys to show what they are?
Gosh, we didn't really get into the nitty-gritty of snaps. And by the way, if it rains too hard, I can bring the show inside. What a podcast, guys. I'm sorry if it
this is awesome, dude.
Sound overtakes.
You're good.
Just brutal. We got Ella up past her bedtime. We've got rain coming down here now.
We don't hear the rain on our end, by the way. We've got no filtration going on. We got a professional program right here, Tyler.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm under an awning, and it rained on the awning when we first moved into the house. We put the awning in, brand spanking new. And it broke. It split. It cut open. We went to the company that were like, what the hell? We got this thing a year ago. And they said, oh, no, you can't leave it out when it rains. what the hell is an awning for then, Springville door? Like, that's kind of a reason you have it. So we'll hope this thing holds up. And all of your listeners obviously care about all of this.
Tyler, what's the weather like there in Buffalo, New York?
Oh, it's rain and snow and miserable.
No, like temperature. Did you say snow?
Well, not right now. No, I just mean overall.
I mean currently. What? Give me the weather report.
I think it was like 85 degrees today. It's beautiful. It's hot. It's nice.
I'd take
Um,
85 degrees.
I'm going to
Still
interrupt
take
and
Florida,
and
you know.
thank Pelagic and Pewter. I don't know why super chats aren't available. He just gifted 5 Loose Cannons podcast memberships to people. So welcome to the membership, Lance Wimberly, Bucket with the Girl, Bud Cannabis, Wayne Poole, and Zachary Jarvis. And of course, thank you so much,
go.
P&P. That was awesome.
Nice.
Sorry, Tyler, to interrupt your amazing story about your awning. But
Right. You asked me a great question about quarterback reps and the direction of the Buccaneers, and I'm talking about rain.
we're talking about things asking you the fucking weather report in July, and
We're not talking
no
about
one cares.
Yeah, we're not talking about penis innuendos, which is what mostly this podcast is about. So
We got that covered.
Never on the rails, ever.
Hey, we just found out that Baker can play football without a cock. All right, so that's massive.
True.
That is
Exactly.
massive. Like, can you imagine if John Madden would have dropped that? You know, he used to say Brett Favre could throw the ball a million miles an hour or a million yards under the water. Imagine if we could say about Baker Mayfield. This guy wants to play football without his penis.
Cut it off. Cut it off.
Yeah, don't even need it.
Well, I'm just, maybe the moral of the story is people should also subscribe to GoAlongTD.com because we're going to have to replace this awning now because it's absolutely going to get split again.
Yeah.
We got to pay for it. So there you go. And also we'll have a subscriber-only Tampa Bay Buccaneers story down the pipe as well. I talked to Rashad White today for that. It'll be a lot of
that's
fun.
our guy.
That's our dude.
Oh, he's the best.
Yes.
The best. Unbelievable human being. Even if he wasn't a good player, you'd say that's somebody that you want in your locker room. Just the best.
For sure. Wise beyond his ears, too.
I guess that's my awful answer to I don't know what they're going to do with the reps. I really don't. I think that they genuinely want a competition, but you can only do so much in training camp. This isn't 2006, 2007. You don't have 2-a-days, right? You're barely in pads. A lot of teams don't tackle or come close to tackling. I'm not sure what Tampa Bay does on a day-to-day basis, but these quarterbacks aren't getting hit at all. So I think they kind of know. And I think barring that Matt Castle situation, it's Baker Mayfield.
But Tyler, if it is that situation, then doesn't it behoove this coaching staff to stop the sham and just give the job to Baker and let him get all the reps? What are we doing here? If this really isn't, if this is tongue in cheek, it's a competition. Baker's got all experience. Kyle's got no experience. Why put the team through that? Why not just put Baker out there? He's in camp for the first time, I think, since before his injury. Why not just give him all the reps and give him the keys to the offense and say, go with it? And Kyle, you gotta beat Baker out because he's the one with the pedigree and the accomplishments.
I guess it tells you it's a genuine competition because that's a really good point. I think that if it was Baker Mayfield all the way through, you wouldn't put your teammates through this at all. You would just roll with them for all the reasons you just detailed. I'm totally with you. So it's probably real. And I guess there's a little gamesmanship. I'm not sure the week 1, week 2 opponents are shaking in their boots. Who are we going to prepare for here? But coaches are kind of a weird breed. Maybe some of that's at play. I'm with you. I don't know. These are smarter people than me, but I would think if you're putting in a new offense, you would want that starting guy to get as many reps as he can possibly get because it just isn't what it used to be in 2023. You can only do so much in practice.
I honestly think that I don't want to say it's not. I do think it's a real competition. When I say I don't think it's a competition, I'm saying that I don't see Baker losing to a Kyle Trask. But I do see them saying, listen, Kyle's been here. We have to give him the opportunity to compete. We don't need to give him the job, but we need to give him the opportunity to change our minds, force us to make a decision, force us to have a conversation, just like anybody else on this team. Whether you're a special teamer or the fucking starting corner, you still have to go out there and make us make a decision, whether it's for you or against you, whatever it is. So I do think that from that standpoint, it's real. I just can't imagine that the preseason games will... I feel like after game 2, they're going to know. I think they start one guy week 1, and then they start one guy week 2 in preseason. And after that, they basically say you each had a 1 game to prove it, whatever number of drives or a whole half or quarter, whatever it is. And then we take that, we put in some training camp stuff. And then by preseason week 3, we know who our starter is, whether we announce it or not. And we just kind of it seems like they each get a 1-game audition aside from camp. Would that not make sense? There's only 3 preseason games. It's not like back in the day, 96, 97, where you had 4 games. You could play these guys and all that, like you're saying.
You just kind of know, too. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson, another perfect example. Matt
I was
Flynn
gonna
gets
say
the
that.
big contract, and Russell Wilson's a 3rd-round pick.
Comes out of
Outside of,
nowhere.
Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, no 3rd and 4th-round picks start right away. But you just knew it. Like, I remember talking to people in the know with that Seattle team, and they said back then, like, Russell is the first one in. Matt Flynn, it's not like he's lazy. It's not like he's checked out, but he just wasn't working nearly as hard as Russell Wilson was. And then it transferred to the field. And then it was obvious in practice. It was obvious in the exhibition games that clearly this was a team that was better with Russell Wilson starting. And it wasn't going to be pretty. Like, he wasn't lighting it up. But with that defense, with that running game, they knew they had something special. Guess who was around? I mean, Dave Canales, I believe, yeah, he would have been around then. He was in Seattle from 2010 on. So he's seen this play out. I think what's really interesting is, yes, he did turn around Geno Smith's career, but it happened over the course of several seasons. It wasn't one OTA, one minicamp, one training camp. It took a while to kind of get Geno Smith to become the comeback player of the year. Can you do that with Baker Mayfield in such a short amount of time? I don't know, but I think if Baker Mayfield has any hope of resurrecting what we all thought could have been, perennial Pro Bowls and playoff wins and making us care about the Cleveland Browns, this is the right coach. This is the right receiving core, and it's the right defense to back you up. So it's do or die. And I mean, Baker Mayfield, there's been moments he thrives in that situation, whether it's granular in that Raiders game, what was it, 98-yard drive? Nobody gave him a shot in hell, which I for whatever reason, I don't know why, maybe I'm a loser, but I rewatched that drive on YouTube. And it's just so funny to see the Raiders like celebrating on special teams when they pin the ball back at the 2. Like, they're going nuts. And here comes
no
Baker
idea.
Mayfield and the JV Rams. So I like his chances. I really do.
I got 2 questions for you. Do you think Matt Flynn checks his bank account every morning still and was like, oh my God, I can't believe they gave me all this money? I just can't believe it.
Off of what one game? I remember covering that game against the Detroit Lions. It was New Year's Day. Aaron Rodgers is calling the plays, throws 6 touchdowns. It's like, this guy, he's going to start somewhere. He's going to succeed. Like, what a spot to be in. The Seattle Seahawks. It's that's the NFL though, right? Hey, here in Buffalo, Rob Johnson, that's how he got the job of being Jim Kelly's long lost.
Are you talking about Buccaneer legend Rob Johnson? John Gruden's quarterback?
Tampa Bay. That's
John
right.
Gruden wanted him so badly to work, but when he put him in against the Carolina Panthers, that we won 9-3 that game, he couldn't throw. He wouldn't throw the ball. He would just run around. You're like, what are we doing here? This is not 1910. You could throw the ball, Rob. It was God. I hated him. I hated watching him.
I love me some Rob Johnson. He's come on our podcast a bunch. I told him this. Like, I don't know if you guys are Seinfeld fans, but that episode where George Costanza just loves Elaine's boyfriend, Tony. Right? They're gonna go rock climbing, and he made the sandwiches.
He ends up dying.
Right? He wrecks his face. Yeah. But I tell Rob that I was like, I'm around you, and you're too cool for me. Like, you're way too cool. And
that's like Blaine Gabbert. That's like Blaine Gabbert for us.
Blaine Gabbert. Yeah.
Blaine Gabbert, the sexiest quarterback the Bucs have ever had.
Unbelievable thighs.
It goes Blaine Gabbert, probably Rob Johnson. He's up there. Then Tom Brady. Then Tom Brady.
Yeah. I'd throw a few more in there, right? There were some special ones in the 80s and 90s.
Testaverde was supposedly a stud. Yeah,
but he wasn't really a looker. He had the like that Italian Jufro. It wasn't a good look. I'll tell you that right now. Wow. It wasn't.
It's interesting that you brought up Seattle and you brought up Flynn and Russell, and Canales has kind of been through a very similar situation last year that's kind of facing him this year. Last year, the Seahawks, everyone talked about this team's going to be in competition for the number 1 pick. This team has a terrible offensive line. This team's got a joke as a quarterback. He's a backup at best. He's obviously not even more. Between him and Baker's supremely talented in terms of skills and whatnot compared to Geno and much younger. But he's seen that this offense has been written off. This team's been written off. Then they come in, they surprise the league, they play well, they run the ball with a rookie running back that no one knows about, and they surprise everybody. Now he's here. Teams apparently competing for the number 1 pick. Backup quarterback that no one thinks will ever become a starter again. You've got a shitty offensive line. So with all of those similarities, I feel like he's kind of equipped to deal with a lot of these things because he's been there, done that. So having talked to him, like with the scheme that he's going to run this season, this is a question we got from the actual chat. What are your thoughts on his new scheme and the impact that it'll have on Mike Evans actually being schemed wide open or schemed open for the first time probably in his NFL career, where he's being, running routes that actually create openings and opportunities for him to run with the ball, which has never happened since he's gotten to the NFL.
Also, let me know if it's too dark. I can go inside. I know we're
You're
on
good,
video
dude.
too. Are
You're
you sure?
Fine, man. No,
Okay.
fine.
All right.
You're good.
It got dark really fast here.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But yeah, I think that in talking to Canales and Rashad White, and I believe I'm going to chat with Chris Godwin later this week too. Overall, big picture, they're going to be committed to the run. It just wasn't there last year. They didn't have the attempts. I know they weren't effective running the ball, but they didn't even try to run the ball for stretches, right? You got to try. You got to stick with it a little bit. And I think that commitment is going to be there. And it's not like you have a clicker and you're counting the number of passes and runs. It's all going to be based on the situation. But man, when your linemen are backpedaling for the entire game and not moving forward, I just think that kind of seeps into the identity of your team. And you can see it and you can feel it. And they were kind of this finesse offense that wasn't able to punch anybody in the mouth. So how do you get that? Personnel, right? As you guys have talked about, I'm sure a ton. It's a different offensive line, and Rashad White's going to get the ball more. They got Chase Edmonds. They've got some guys I think that can run. And I think the personnel obviously is better, but it just starts with that commitment. I'm not sure how Mike Evans is going to get schemed up differently. It can only help though. Like if you have a threat of a running game, which they didn't have last year, he's going to be one-on-one more. And you do have a legit number 1 in Chris Godwin on the other side. So I'm the last person that will ever count out Mike Evans. The guy just is going to get 1,000 yards every season. Why not, regardless of who the quarterback is?
He did it with Mike Glennon. I will say that till I am dead. He did it with Mike Glennon. He could do it with Baker. He could even do it with Trask at that point. Like it doesn't take that much to get that guy the ball and have him fucking shine because he's just so good at what he does. And follow up from the person who actually asked that question, Michael Pless, complimentary football. He says running the ball with a purpose and setting up play action pass, which last year we did not do. We kind of just ran the ball to run the ball, as opposed to what Canales has been saying, which is we're going to run mindfully. We're going to run to set things up later on. We're going to run to set up everything through this offense, which makes a lot of sense. But another question we had, which kind of ties all this together, is from the Super Bowl year to now, the offensive line, much different. The only 2 guys that remain are Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen. Tristan Wirfs is flipping to the complete other side of the line, which he's never done at the NFL level. What do the Bucs have to do to get from that offensive line continuity and strength and what they did so well that Super Bowl year, 3 years later now, to kind of figuring out what the fuck they got in front of Baker or Kyle?
Bray. I mean, I think every offensive line, every team, they're going to go through this. Like, you're going to get injuries. It's just like, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to be an offensive lineman in the NFL, where for 60 plus, 70 plus plays, you're out there as a 320-pound human being, taking on these D linemen who have like 8%, 9% body fat. And oh, by the way, they're subbing in and out. NFL teams go 8, 9 deep. I mean, it's such a point of emphasis with every defensive line, every defense. Man, it is so hard to have somebody who has the stamina at that size to last that long in a game, can bend. I've got a story on James Houston coming out for the Detroit Lions. I mean, he's 6'1", 240. When he bends around the corner, he's like horizontal with the ground. I mean, you're a 6'8" tackle. That's not fun to go against. So I don't know. I guess you just hope you stay healthy. You hope you have some continuity, and you know it's going to be hard. Like, holding is called more than ever.
Tyler, real quick, are you getting rained on?
No, we're good, but You know what? It's so dark. If you give me 2 seconds, we'll pop inside.
I don't want your daughter sitting through the rain, so that's
No,
why I
she's
asked.
underneath it. She's good. She's good.
Oh, I don't,
She's
I don't know
good.
if you're like me. Football first, and then food, and then family. And then maybe God somewhere down there. But so I didn't know what your tiers were, so I had to ask.
Yeah, this can become a parenting podcast really quick. I'm old, my kids are grown. I completely believe in neglecting your children and then just letting them figure it out. Like just go free.
Throw them in the pool; they'll figure it out,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
kind of my mindset, my mentality. Like, listen,
She's
you're
doing
old enough
good.
to swim.
She's hanging in there, right, Ella? Here she is.
Just like in 300 with Sammer, he actually does let his kids go at the age of 5, and if they turn back up at 13, then you'll take them back in again.
I mean, if they come back, they're wearing fucking wolf and bear skin, and they're they've grown, they've obviously fended for themselves, and they made it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna welcome them back. If
They
I
have to
see
bring
them,
you back ahead of a wolf, right? Isn't that one of the rules?
three actually, but they should also be wearing. They should have basically fashioned some sort of garb from the rest of the wolf at that point, right? And then
Probably
they
some
should
wild boar down there, right? I mean, I don't know what has some
Yeah,
game.
we've
Not
got
a big-
everything.
not a big boar guy, right? We're trying to it's not really.
Wait, you don't eat boar, but you can kill them, right?
We're not wearing them. I mean, how big is this child? I mean, the boar is only so big. You need wolf and bear.
Some pretty big boars, bro.
So Bo Jackson, that's how he got his name, right? He was killing boars, slaughtering them,
Also,
mutilating them.
Buccaneer legend Bo Jackson. You're just
Yes.
bringing out the legendary Bucs players.
Tyler knows football. For a guy who writes long form about the NFL, this guy knows some shit. Tyler, listen, go figure out your lighting situation and get your kid inside with you and all
Okay,
that.
all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you come back, I got a Chris Godwin thing to talk to you about too.
Perfect. We'll be right back.
Oh, you messed up our thing.
Uh-oh.
Ah.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
You're
back.
good.
Sorry about that. Okay.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Simmer, are we going to go through this every single day on social media where you're posting pictures of Baker and I'm defending with pictures of Trask, and then you got JC Cornell posting pictures of Kyle Trask's hand? Like, is this going to be the entire time right up until kickoff in Minnesota, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been waiting for this moment, for training camp, for the photos and the videos that we're going to get of these guys. Like, I've been waiting, and the Loose Cannon Sports Science Department has been waiting. We're going to break down a lot of shit, dude. Like, you have no... I mean, the cup, which is the ratio between your hand and the ball, like, all of this stuff. And, like, even if it doesn't make any sense, we're going to bring actual knowledge, man. I can't wait to see the videos of these guys throwing the ball. I can't wait to get out there and capture my own video and just fucking embarrass Kyle Trask. I can't wait, man.
Bro, this is the segue of the century. I told him I had a Godwin thing to talk to him about. You mentioned the word cup. I was listening to John Wolford on some random podcast. I don't know how it came up. It just did. Okay. He's doing a podcast with some X's and O's nerds, and they're talking. And that guy is a savant, by the way. I don't know. Like, he is like a coach on the field. And he's talking about Canales' offense, and then talking about McVay's offense, and, all the intricacies and movement and this and that and that. And he mentioned something that got me a little bit excited. He mentioned that they had Chris Godwin in the Cooper Kupp role. I was like, my imagination went crazy. What do you think about that, Tyler? I'll ask you first of all, because back to what Sam was alluding, we haven't really had a whole lot of creativity here. It's been like, go make decisions, get the ball out of your hand super, super quick. And, we've got more big athletes on the field and more talent on the field, and we're just going to out athlete you and score points.
Which is the quickest way to die a slow and painful death in the NFL.
The wide receiver screen
play
death.
caller.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl with Green Bay, great, but I mean, that was so matchup centric. It's everything you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, when you've got Greg Jennings and Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb and Jermichael Finley and Donald Dry, like, of course they're going to win their one-on-ones because somebody's going to have a one-on-one and they're going to win it. And then those guys start to get old or leave, and you have a young team and you're fired. Like, so it pays to have misdirection and motion and unpredictability and scheme guys open, which, man, you'd rather have a Tom Brady in his prime and an Aaron Rodgers in his prime, but I guess that would be the downside, if there is a downside, because it kind of, in Green Bay covering that team, it kind of got to the point where it was autopilot, right? Like it was Aaron Rodgers at the line of scrimmage, freelancing, freestyling, because he didn't have any respect for Mike McCarthy. He really didn't. He thought he was a buffoon. He's sending in a play. This isn't going to work. I'm going to change it to what I think is going to work. But if you've got a coach who isn't a buffoon and is smart and is going to scheme guys open, it changes everything. And I guess, boy, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit with the Cooper Kupp comparison, but it's not that far off. Look at what Kevin O'Connell was able to do, from that same coaching tree with Justin Jefferson, where you take this freak who's an X and then you bring him in the slot and then you set him in motion. You have him in the backfield. I mean, he's running circle routes out of the backfield. He did everything. He's going to become the richest non-quarterback in NFL history very, very soon. So I would think that they would try to do something unique with Chris Godwin, because why not? Why wouldn't you? And it's weird because it feels like, came in gangbusters, and he hasn't been bad, but he it's no fault of his own. He just hasn't been used right. I'm sure you've talked about it. He'll be used right in this offense.
I mean, he was used correctly with BA's first season in 2020. He fit that He fit that Fig Pen mold. He fit that I can't remember his fucking name. The Arizona Cardinals legend, Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah. He ran that, that same kind of package of plays out of the slot, because he was physical. He can block. He can handle things across the middle, and he excelled. But then in the year two, I think his injury happened, and then year three was last year, where it was a totally different offense and Tom Brady, and it was just different. And he even said this year he feels like he's actually ready, whereas last year in camp he wasn't ready. He didn't feel better till like the end of the season. So we get a full-on healthy 100% Chris Godwin this time around. But speaking of unique, another kind of storyline that's happening at Bucs camp, which we don't really know which way it's going yet. Devin White. He's spoken to some defensive guys. Devin White was in pads, was wearing his jersey today. We don't know if he's going to hold out, if he's going to practice. We don't know what's going on, where his mind is at. The players and the coaches, whatever it is, hold in. The coaches are saying we expect him to play, but then they also say, well, we haven't spoken to him. So it's like they don't want to commit before he fucking embarrasses them, that kind of thing. So what do you know, or what do you see that scenario kind of playing out? Or is it kind of been put to bed? Is it just going to be he's going to go out there, put his head down, work, and kind of try to earn his teammates' respect again?
At the end of the day, that's who you answer to. I think when push comes to shove, with most of these players, even the ones who are very principled and have a much stronger case to make than Devin White has here, they get to week one and they play, right? For their teammates, for their guys, because they know the team is better if they are out there. Everybody will benefit. Everybody will make more money if a player like Devin White is on the field. So, yeah, he's going to play. You guys probably know, his angst details better than me, but I don't really know what his argument would be. The source of his unhappiness when
he wants $100 million.
Yeah. Well,
there it is.
Seems like a lot of money.
It's really, really simple. It's a money thing. He has no leverage. They drafted his replacement in Servassier Dennis, who has experience playing with Kalijah Kancey, and they were teammates already. He definitely has no leverage. He has to play his ass off this year, and I think he's been unfairly vilified in this town. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I really do. Last year was a nightmare as a defender. Look at that guy. You brought up UFC earlier, bro. Look at that guy. He's a muscle-bound dude, okay? That guy's not going to have the stamina to be on the field 80 plays a game. That's not his game. And he's not the type that's going to tap out and let somebody come in so he can get some air in his lungs. So the criticism is that he's loafed in certain situations, but the defense was on the field the entire fucking game last year. Like, offense was 3 and out. It was ridiculous. And so for a guy like him, it really wore on him. And because he's the mouth of this team and he loves to run his mouth and he loves to be in front of the camera, he's now taking it on the chin. And a big portion of the Bucs fan base doesn't like the guy. They want him gone. They're tired of his.
The reasoning behind that stink is because he's got a very me thing going on about him. It may be unfair, maybe because I'm judging.
You love that when he's
but there's
right?
still times and moments where you're like if Levante David, if anyone has the right on this team on the defense to fucking pound their chest after every goddamn play, it's Levante David, right? There's no, I don't care if we lose and he's out there. I'll be like, yeah, he deserves it. Fuck it. He played with Gerald McCoy in the shit years. He deserves it. But Devin White comes off different than that. And then maybe it is unfair, Stank, that he was loafing in that game, that we singled him out. They played their asses off, that team. We even had Donnie Abraham come on here that same Monday following that game, Tyler, and he said he had no criticism against it, even though he played in the league and he understands what, you don't want to see guys loafing on film. But he said, fatigue will make a coward out of all of us. And so it was interesting to hear him kind of defend Devin White, where you guys had guys like Warren Sapp coming on and breaking down the film and saying this guy should have his C ripped off of his chest, yada, yada. So I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? But I'd love to hear what you think. Do you get that me first personality from him? It's very similar to what happened with the Bears last year with their middle linebacker. Now he's a Raven at the trade deadline.
Well, the Buccaneers, they know how valuable he is. They won a Super Bowl with him. He was the Mahomes antidote, right? He was unbelievable. He comes from LSU. It's just different down there. They raise these players different. I mean, they actually talk about hitting in practice. They beat the hell out of each other. I remember talking to a couple of his teammates ahead of that Super Bowl. They're like, man, with Devin White in those practices, there was blood and a lot of it. But yeah, he has no leverage. And if I'm Devin White, I'm optimistic because I saw what Tremaine Edmonds got from the Chicago Bears. 4 years, $72 million. He's an average linebacker, right? I mean, he's maybe above average. His size, he does take away a lot of passing windows that maybe we don't see. It's like you drop a big cone in the middle of the field and quarterbacks got to kind of throw. He's like the longest arms you've ever seen. But Devin White's wrecking games. When he's at his best, he is an impactful inside linebacker in any scheme. So he's going to get paid. The Bucs just can't really do it with Tom Brady's dead money and restructuring as much as they could just to make this season happen, just to try to win some games. So they can't just drop everything and give him whatever he wants. So he's got to understand that. And Tyler, you don't want to risk your body one more year, but you're going to get paid. Somebody's going to give you a lot of money.
Jason Light in his press conference yesterday said that they had to shop at the dollar store this offseason. That just shows you how tight they are to the budget. And I'll say one more thing in Devin White's defense. This is some old school Bucs shit. You might not even get this. Devin White is everything that people wanted Gerald McCoy to be.
Yes.
Right? They criticize him because he wasn't a dog and he wasn't a leader and he wasn't going to get anybody's face and he's picking up Tom Brady off the ground and saying, sorry, I hit you. I'm your best friend. All the shit that people mock him for, even though he's probably the second best D tackle to ever,
No, he's not.
To play in this franchise.
No, he's not.
From a stats perspective, yes, it's not even close.
Stats are for losers. Carry on.
Okay, but all I'm saying is
to a D tackle.
He was.
Yeah, and Chidi will be the first to tell you that
he does
the
not
best
like Gerald McCoy.
Or Warren Sapp. He even hates Warren even more.
He doesn't like Gerald though.
I'm trying to think of a Culpepper, right?
I would put Culpepper and Hovan higher than Gerald McCoy. Absolutely. Great points, Tyler.
People hate Gerald, but if Gerald had any of Devin White's dog in him, people wouldn't have that opinion of him. But he was just too nice.
If he had any of that dog, he'd probably have fucking game-changing plays too, wouldn't he? Not interested in the sack you get in the fourth quarter when you're down 60 points, or the offsides you get in the fucking red zone on a 4th and 1 when your team needs to stop. Sorry, I didn't make that up. That happened. His great first step though. Anyway, forget. We don't want to make this about Gerald McCoy.
To your point, Saber, I mean, those Green Bay teams, those Green Bay defenses, like they were good enough to win 15 games when you had Aaron Rodgers that one year and get to the playoffs after that. But man, you do need some a-holes. And I know we can say anything on here, but Ella's still sitting right by me. You do need some of those guys. Maybe there's something on your rap sheet, right? Maybe you did something in college you shouldn't have done. Like it's public urination. I don't know. There is a line that you can cross, and you
we're gonna clip this. Just so you know.
I'm not saying that.
We're gonna clip this, just so you know.
Yeah.
Tyler, massive fan of public urination on his fucking when he's scouting players. Hey, hold on.
You don't want choir boys. You don't want choir boys.
This guy's
It's
an
a
All-American?
mean, violent, nasty game. You
But did
need
he-
bad dudes out there.
Did he
You
piss
gotta
in a
take some
parking garage?
chances.
This guy's an All-American. Did he piss in a parking garage? I don't know. I don't know if I wanted it.
We had a dumpster outside of Chuck's at Syracuse. I mean, everybody it was faster than the bathroom that you had inside the bar. So what are you gonna do?
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah. Well,
Even though it doesn't have a bidet, I'm a big bidet guy.
That's true.
wow.
Oh, yeah,
European?
I'm Arab, sir. I mean,
Just bougie.
bidets are absolutely imperative. Like, I will not use a bathroom outside of my home because it doesn't have a bidet most of the time.
You know, I think there is a bidet uprising. I was just listening to a podcast. They were talking about bidets for an hour. So maybe I got to get up with the
Tyler,
times.
that's a great name for a bidet-centric podcast. Bidet Uprising. Sammer, make the logo.
Yes.
And the water literally
I like it.
rises up your
Uprising
asshole.
out of the
It's
bowl?
beautiful, dude. I mean,
Holy shit.
and Tyler, listen, once you've experienced that 33 psi run up your asshole, you're never touching toilet paper again.
It's his
Okay.
daughter sits on his lap.
It's great. She can't hear any of this. I promise, viewers. I have my headphones on. She can't
Oh
hear any
man,
of
this
this.
is hilarious.
We're definitely getting canceled, bro.
I don't know about that.
Ella, you can't hear any of this, right? You hear nothing?
Nope.
Okay, yeah,
another
nothing. Not even
question-
me sitting right back.
Another question popped up earlier. I'll get back to it now. If Gage is not wide receiver 3 because he's just not healthy, he's not ready for camp, he's not ready to prove himself, whether he gets cut or he stays on the roster, who is a young guy or another guy on this roster that could probably emerge as wide receiver 3? There's I believe his name is Trey Palmer. They drafted. They think he's what Scotty Miller should have been, or
Hey,
what they wish Scotty Miller
Scotty
was.
Miller was a great.
He even took his number, so I
Yeah.
think that's hilarious. And I do think that he could do all the things that Scotty absolutely sucked at doing, no matter what these people think about Scotty. But who do you see on this team possibly emerging as wide receiver 3 if Gage can't be on the field to make his case?
Last question, by the way. Last question.
Well, I wish I was down there for training camp to see. I'm not. But Cade Warner? Hey, I remember some OTA buzz around
yeah.
Kurt's kid. Why not? It seems pretty wide open. I mean, Devin Tompkins, he's got some speed. Trey Palmer, you mentioned him. I really like Scotty Miller. I think that in that Atlanta offense, he's going to be exactly what they need. He is that player, though, that I feel maybe we all kind of like a little bit too much. Like, we see the potential, the speed, and it's rare for his size and his skin complexion. You're right. Not a lot of us have that kind of speed in the Caucasian department.
Okay,
But I
you're
think
allowed
he
to
is
say
going to
that.
be really
I-
good in Atlanta. I
Definitely.
like with those bigger dudes, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. It's going to be a good fit.
Even though he's playing with a high school quarterback, you still think he'll do well.
That's true. Worst quarterback in the NFL.
I shouldn't say, I know I have to pander, and I do like Tampa Bay.
He
I think they
couldn't
could even
beat
sneak
out
into the
Marcus
playoffs.
Mariota.
I kind of, but look at the team around him.
That doesn't mean anything if you can't.
They're
throw the ball to them.
built.
If you can't get the ball
They're-
to Kyle Pitts because you don't know how to throw the ball, how's that? You could have Hall of Famers around you. I mean, it's not going to matter. You have I mean, come on.
I got to go takeless on this one because I don't want to get caught either way. I don't know how that's
All right.
going to play
Hey,
out. We'll
it's
see.
okay. This is a offend every NFC South podcast team or podcast or you know what I'm saying. We hate all the teams, especially the Saints. Like, you gave an LSU, team some credit. We hate everybody in Louisiana, the entire state, until they come here.
All of it.
It's a real rivalry. I mean, that Carlton Davis, Michael Thomas stuff had to have been fun, right? When they were really going
Mike,
at
the
it
Mike
on the
Evans,
field.
Lattimore, where Mike just slaps.
Oh yeah, that's the
Lattimore
one.
around
Evans
like
Lattimore. Jeez.
like he's a little bitch. Just slaps him around on the field, throws him, kicks him. He does whatever he wants to him.
Yeah.
And Lattimore does nothing. So yeah.
So look, so Stank told you was the last question, but your first time guest, we have to ask
Oh,
you
we have one more question.
a set of questions that, as much as we like you and you've been fucking awesome tonight,
Thanks
This
for
kinda-
having me, and
this-
thanks for putting up with everything.
no, this is awesome. No, this is like, hey, listen,
This is a test. This is your training camp.
Yeah, you've gone through adversity. You kept fighting. You fell a couple of times. You got back up. Like, I want to see that in my guy. You're a huge fan of public urination. I mean, that just tells me you don't got time for the bullshit. You need to get it done, get out of the way, get back on the field. You're the guy that's going to kneel down on one knee during the huddle and piss down his leg, and just so you can continue on, right? That's a massive thing in my book when I'm scouting
Clearly.
players, right? And obviously podcast co-host. So these set of questions, though, Tyler, determines if you come back on this show.
That's
All right,
true.
this is massive. No matter how much we like you, like I said, this determines if you are back on this show ever again,
All right.
or if we're going to absolutely ridicule you for the rest of the time. Now, we all can agree that chicken wings are the greatest food, football-wise, ever. No matter what sport, actually, any sporting event, wings are the winner. Correct?
Not up for debate.
Not up for debate.
I mean, I live in Buffalo, and I'm glad you said chicken wings, not buffalo wings. So
Thank you. Yeah,
you're good in my book.
I'm a fucking connoisseur. All right, Tyler, don't. Yeah,
I like
listen. Now, are you going dry rub, or are you going saucy, dripping down my elbows wet when you're eating your wings, man?
Okay, so I mean, the answer is obvious, but I will say this: Elmo's North Buffalo had a really good dry rub for a long time. They don't make it anymore, so I changed my tune on the dry rub. But obviously, it's got to be saucy, crispy. The sauce has to be homemade, perfect. I mean, it's all about the sauce on your chicken wing, really. 911 Tavern, that's where I actually just got wings with Naeem Hines, whose season just tragically ended due to a jet ski. For a story. They've got the best wings. If anybody is in Western New York, 911 Tavern, South Buffalo, hole in the wall place. Elmo's, Bar Bill's obviously really good. Don't go to Anchor Bar. Don't go to Duff's.
Tyler, we're coming to Buffalo for the Buffalo game. Bucks, Bills.
That's what I'm saying.
All right,
that's
so
right.
I'm gonna look you up. I'll be like, hey, get us some fucking wings, Buffalo. Let's go. Let's experience it.
You're coming up. Let's go.
Tyler, I want to be camping out under the new awning. That's what I'm going to be doing because we're going to get you a new awning. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, it depends on the subscribers that we get from the whole awning experience.
Don't worry about it.
So
I'll bring half my staff. We'll build it up. Take them about 4 or 5 hours. Then we'll enjoy it. I'll send them back. No big deal. All right, Tyler, I got it. So
I love it.
Now this question, the secondary question.
That was the underhand pitch, right?
Yeah.
There.
This is the massive.
Come on, guys.
This is a massive thing. Okay. Are you dipping those saucy, dripping down your elbow wings in blue cheese or that fucking trailer park gravy that they call ranch?
I mean, come on. It's blue cheese.
Thank you, Tyler.
Obviously, chunky blue cheese.
Chunky.
Homemade.
He even said
cheese.
homemade. He even said chunky.
God damn.
Yes.
Tyler, you're my Rob Johnson right now. Do you understand this? You are my white crush right now.
Wow.
I like it. I'll take it. Did you bring the sandwiches? As long as you brought the sandwiches, I'll let you be my crush. I
don't want you to fall and break your face. You have a nice beard. You know, we're kind of like beard brothers. I like it. You know, I don't want you to crush your face. I would hate for that. You have to be eating soup out of a fucking can.
I don't have a beard as good as you, man. That is looking clean.
You don't airbrush your beard like Sam.
I don't airbrush. I go
straight. I go straight hobo.
I had this.
Have you ever heard of an AI beard? Because that's what Sammer's beard is. It's not real.
It's actually so.
Is Sammer real? Is this a real person?
I have an 8K QLED Samsung beard. It's hasn't been released to the public quite yet. The resolution on this thing is unbelievable.
Find pores on his face. Find me one.
No pores.
No pores.
None.
And an AI beard. You tell me if he's real.
Also, I'm not a fan of pores.
You know that lady that was getting off the plane and she's like, that guy back there is not real. That's what she was talking about.
Yeah, I don't fly with other people, dude. All right. Funny.
That's right, you're Arab.
Yeah, they don't really let you choose to get on with the rest of the general public at that point.
That's a good spot to end right there, right?
On that note,
Tyler's like, I'm from New York.
I'm getting the hell out of here.
All right, hey Tyler, before you go, let people know how they can read your work, check what you guys are doing out, and obviously subscribe and all that good stuff. So go ahead.
Awesome. Appreciate it. GoLongTD.com. If you're on Substack, it's just go long on Substack at Ty Dunne on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, all that good stuff. And subscribe. I put out some stories for free, like the Carlton Davis profile, a lot of stuff like the inner workings on the teams and how the sausage is made. All that is for our paid subscribers. So we'll have this Tampa Bay story in about a week or two. So it's a good time. 8 a month, 50 a year. We've got Zoom happy hours too. I love to bring on former players and give people the chance to ask them questions like we're kind of doing here. Definitely have to get some Buccaneers on. Rob Johnson's come on. I think Rondé Barber came on at one point. So if Bucs people subscribe, let me know who you want to hang out with over a virtual beer and we'll make it happen.
Awesome. You guys, hey, Bucs fans, subscribe. This guy knows his shit.
Tyler knows his shit. Tyler, you were fucking awesome, dude. Seriously.
Sure, brother.
Hey. No, I appreciate you guys. Awesome time. Great questions. And again, thanks for, Ella. This is Ella's first podcast.
She did
she
great.
enjoyed it.
She did
Yeah,
great.
she did good.
She got
Throw
the
that.
cheat.
Right.
She got the cheat on her bedtime. I mean, she's got it, dude. She gets it. She knows how to play the game. I got to give
We
her
got
that.
a squeezy pouch in, she's only had about 8 snacks through the negotiation of bedtime. So we'll give it another go here. But that was a lot of fun. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Yeah,
Have a
bro.
good night, man. Appreciate it. Go Bucks.
Bucks, peace.
Welcome to Tampa Bay.